expensive baby. This guy, it's called a Brazilian black tarantula. Obviously they come from Brazil. These guys are terrestrial. They like to burrow. If you can see him there in the side, he's trying to make a little hole. So these guys are super infamous in the pet trade because of their velvet exterior. Some tarantulas are a little bit more sought out in the pet trade. I would say my Brazilian black tarantula is the most expensive tarantula I have currently. I don't want to disclose that price just because it's kind of embarrassing to spend on a tarantula. But I will talk with you about my purple pink toe that I had. My purple pink toe did not eat for a very long time at a very young age, and it did not survive. That was a horrible death that was really, really hard on me. My purple pink toe, just like it sounds, they are a purple tarantula. They're gorgeous. I mean, they're just stinking gorgeous. And I will have another one day, but I have to get past some of my regret and forgive myself a little bit before I get another purple pink toe. Did not survive. He wasn't eating for a long time. I was even feeding him, little bitty, they call them pinhead crickets. They're tiny. They don't survive for a very long time. So if you live in the North Texas area, there's only one place to get them in Plano. And I would make an hour-long trip once a week just to get pinheads for my purple pink toe that did not survive. Anywho, horrible experience with that. If you're not experienced in tarantulas, you should try to get a sustainable size tarantula. You don't want a sling. And you need to speak to your vendor and talk to them if you are thinking about getting a tarantula. You want to be successful in this. You don't want to challenge yourself so much that you don't know what you're doing. So the molting process of a tarantula is where they shed their exoskeleton and they get a little bit bigger. The way that they do this, they will show themselves as not eating, push their prey away, maybe even try to kill them a little bit and push them away, but they will stop eating. So you need to observe this within your tarantulas. You don't want any live food inside of the terrarium when the tarantula starts to go into a molt. They are very vulnerable. At this point, the prey potentially for the tarantula can become the hunter, and they can kill the tarantula in their molt while in a vulnerable state like this. What happens is, right, so they're trying to break out of their old skin and they push through the weakest spot of the exoskeleton. So at this point they have 2 layers of body. They're trying to push through. They typically push through in the back and the abdomen area, and then they retract all of their legs slowly but surely over this time of molting. This can be anywhere from a 2 to maybe 10-hour process. Tarantulas can grow back their legs. Tarantulas can also grow back their organs in a molting process, which is really, really cool. I think it's definitely something that science should study a little bit more. Now I also have 2 little slings. These slings are really, really tiny. So one of them is an Arizona blonde tarantula. He is super tiny. They are known to be terrestrial, so they like to burrow. They live in the desert, so a good way for them to get water is to go underneath the ground. They get that humidity there that they need. But they are native to the southern region of America. The Arizona blonde tarantula can also climb. They love to climb. So you need to not have too tall of an enclosure. You want to have something kind of similar to my curly hair tarantula terrarium. Maybe something to possibly cushion the fall. You want to have mostly soil, but they do like to climb. So you want to keep that in mind. You don't want a high terrarium. You want something where they can kind of climb, but also aren't going to possibly plummet to their death. I find that tarantulas, my previous video with my praying mantis, tarantulas are a little bit more fragile than praying mantis. Also, since I am from Texas, I had to have a Texas brown tarantula. Some of my friends have seen them in the wild before. I've offered people money to try to catch them, but no one has. So I went out and I bought a sling, $10. But slings are very hard to care for. The Texas brown tarantula is also known as the Oklahoma and the Missouri brown tarantula, but they are mainly just in the southern part of the United States. I tend to buy crickets often and they don't live very long, so what I do is, with the dead bodies, I grind them up and I put them in this Tupperware for my little slings. This is a super easy, nutritious way for them to find food. They just scavenge and try to find the remains of insects. So grinding them up and just sprinkling them in there like pepper is the best way to feed them. To feeding, I typically feed them crickets and doobie roaches. Again, very similar to my praying mantis. The doobie roaches are really easy to store, and sometimes I'll give them something a little bit more fast like a cricket, and they love it. Their legs are always sitting on their web, hunting, feeling vibrations. So once the animal starts moving enough, they know exactly where it's located and they will find it. I do like to keep a little bottle cap in the terrariums of my tarantulas, just so they have the possibility of getting water whenever they need to. But I put this little cup here so that I can fill that up for him with his little webbing. I know, I got this jar from one of my old jobs. And it does have little paw prints on it because I think they use it for donations for puppies or something. Hence the paw prints all over it. When it comes to housing, typically when a tarantula is full grown, it's best for them to be in a 5 to 10 gallon terrarium. Similar to a betta fish, if you don't know about that, and we can talk about betta fish later. That'll be in another video. But for these guys to be happy and have enough space, they need to be in a 5 to 10 gallon terrarium in order to have enough room to burrow or make webs, just to be happy in their own little space. These are little terrariums that I created on my own. I just took a mason jar, put some bug netting over the top of it. Bug netting is super cheap. You can get a whole roll of it for maybe $3. I just removed the tin piece. I cut out mesh enough so that it just fits right in there, super easy. You have a breathable lid. Spay and neuter your pet, unless you're planning on breeding. But even if you're planning on breeding, you need to have the perfect specimen. Otherwise, it's null and void that they have a hard time breathing in regular daytime hours. You know, like, they can't breathe, but you're gonna breed that thing? Unless they're perfect and they're a good specimen and you want to recreate that, beautiful, beautiful, do it. I don't hate you for that. Don't breed your pet if it's imperfect. It's wrong. Urticating hairs. I don't like to hold my slings because the idea of that much money, you know, crawling up the wall and getting into an event is not something that I want to cry about at night.
Right on.
Maybe I should. Give me your foot! Are you serious?